Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. It's your DC Spotlight for the week of April 22nd, 2026. 10 books out this week. I thought it was a really entertaining week. Every single book I enjoyed. Now, that being said, nothing blew me away. Um, but for the most part, I thought everything was kind of above average. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty strong week. What about you, Rocky?
I would a little different than you. I enjoyed my top five, top four actually. The fifth one got in there because I needed five, and the rest I thought were mediocre. I thought they weren't above average for me. I thought they were just okay, you know. But hey, you know. But it's. I mean, hey, yeah. I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on some of them. Some of them I'm going to be. Some I'm very impressed with. Some I'm just a little underwhelmed by, and very disappointing. I thought, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts as we get into it.
Yeah, it's funny because I really do feel like we're getting really great books right now, but at the same time, and as much as the Absolute Line is bringing people in, and we're hearing about maybe it's speculator heat, maybe it's something else with books like Dork and White Sky or whatever. The industry does seem to be experiencing some pains right now. We heard about all the layoffs at Marvel, which was part of a larger layoffs at Disney. 1,000 people were laid off, including, to the surprise of many, the entire visual effects team, award-winning visual effects team. And again, some people are like, "Oh, they blame AI," and I want to be clear. At no time has Disney come out and said they're going to replace these people with AI. What they've said is they're going to use technology. The technology's changed, and they're going to use, technology is the word they're using, not specifically
Yeah,
AI, to kind of replace these people. And people are reading into that. But I mean, when you talk about, like, today, it came out that Andy Parks was one of the ones laid off. I mean, this guy's been involved in 40 Marvel movies and projects, TV shows, whatever, over the last 15 years. And he's
yeah.
incredibly talented. And it's like, okay, if you're going to lay off everybody but one person, the one person you keep is Andy Parks. So he was the first person I thought of when they said they were, they laid off almost the whole department.
Hmm.
And I mean, I got to be honest, I just don't understand. I mean, I do. It's greed. It's corporate greed. But as I've said many,
Yeah.
many times, creative decisions and business decisions are usually antithetical, and it's terrible to see. And now we've got news that Mad Cave laid off some editors. It's just, I don't know what the heck's going on. It's been some growing pains going on in the comic industry right now, or maybe growing pains is the wrong term, because is it really growing? I mean, it seems that it is with
Yeah.
absolute titles, and DC's had the market share over Marvel for the second quarter in a row, which I can tell you the last time that happened. Um,
Yeah, it's
but man,
interesting. Even David Gabriel, he's the numbers guy
uh,
at Marvel, for him to get laid off after 20 some years, I realize they've had their ups and downs lately. So maybe you could criticize him arguably over the last maybe couple years. But I mean, the guy's made some pretty good decisions and made a. He really helped with Marvel's bottom line for quite a while there, and so for him to get laid off is quite something too. But
yeah,
yeah, something.
I don't look at the decisions being made and think, oh, this is going to be good for Marvel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's not just limited to Marvel. There's people that are questioning DC as well, because they have a history of making poor decisions as well. A lot of pushback on the video from last week about it not really being the young John Kent. Some people calling it a hoax. I mean, I think that's pushing it far. Like, oh, we're going to boycott DC or whatever. I'm like, why would they do? Like, if they were pushing it, and this was my response, if DC was marketing this and pushing it out there and telling everybody, come back and read Superman Unlimited, it's the return of young John Kent, and then it turned out to not be, that would be a hoax. They're just letting Dan Slott tell the story that he wants to tell. Some people seem convinced that it's John Kent, or maybe wishful thinking that it's young John Kent. The more I think about it, the more I think it isn't. But as I said last week, DC would be foolish, based on the reaction of readers, not to have John Kent come back in some form or fashion. So,
I,
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. And then the final thing I want to say before we dive into the first book is thoughts and prayers go out to Adam Hughes, an absolutely legendary hero or creator in comics, mostly known these days for his covers, but he was diagnosed with cancer recently. The news came out. He had to cancel all his upcoming appearances. It's really scary. It's stage 3, which not as the news isn't as bad as it could be, but when it comes to health, and then obviously your thoughts immediately go to George Perez, and when the news finally came out about him having cancer, it was almost like a foregone conclusion he was going to be with us for that much longer. That was exactly the case. It was less than a year later.
When I think of Adam Hughes, it's so funny because I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in defense of Adam Hughes, because I'll often say, "Oh, we got too many Jenny Bartel covers. Oh, we get too many of Lucio Peril covers. Oh, we got too many of these covers. They're glutting the market." And then I'm thinking to myself, "Well, wait a minute. We can never have enough Adam Hughes covers," because that's the way I feel. Because it just goes to show you, when you love an artist, you love an artist, and he's just one that's it's the artist that in so many ways I associate so many of my collecting with, and it's right back to Penthouse Comics, for God's sakes, back in the early '90s. And anyways, I mean he's going to be with us for a long time. God bless him, and I wish him better health, and he'll beat this. And FUCK cancer, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, also, I probably should also mention this. Sort of a big DC book out this week that we won't be talking about, which is because it's a Marvel book. Really, it's Spider-Man, Superman. We already had Superman, Spider-Man, and as you notice, whichever character comes first, that's the company that's publishing that particular crossover. So we already had Superman, Spider-Man, we covered it. Spider-Man, Superman is out this week, but since we don't get Marvel books, and I don't know any press who do anymore, we don't have that book to talk about. But I will be covering it. I'll probably do an episode that, usually I drop a Marvel review on Thursday, so that'll be over on the Comic Source YouTube channel. I didn't drop one last week because honestly there wasn't a Marvel book that I read last week. I do still need to read Venom, but it wasn't worth reading that to review it because it was part of a crossover. And kind of on that note too, Timothy Chang, the PR person at Marvel, who was always a pleasure to work with, despite him never giving us access to Marvel press copies, he was let go as well, which really surprised me. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there, gotta be honest. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the books for this week, kicking it off with the first title, which actually I'm pretty sure this is what came in last for me. Just double checking that. Yeah, it's Harley and Ivy, Life and Crimes, number 5. And again, there's nothing particularly wrong with this. It's just kind of okay, it doesn't really speak to me that much. It's written and drawn by Erika Henderson, as it has been throughout. Letters by Hassan Otsman Elhau, and it's fine, but I just didn't think it was anything particularly special. Although I will say that I really did enjoy the main cover. I don't know that there's any. I'm just looking right now real quick at the variants to see if any of the variants are great. Yeah, they're okay. Really think the main cover is the one that I really like the most. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. It was okay.
Well, I've been really enjoying this series from the beginning. I actually felt that I almost feel like it should have ended at issue 4, because this issue 5, it's really just the girls. They've escaped the Joker's clutches, and now they're at Ma Hunkel's house, when she basically takes in a bunch of orphans off the streets and she helps them out, and she's bringing in Poison Ivy and Harley. And it's clear to me that Erika Henderson is sort of exploring sort of like the early. It almost feels like a focus on Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is fairly antisocial, and she's not really good around people, and so there's some good character focus on that. And they want to try to get Pamela to sort of loosen up a little bit, because she is somebody who's not particular. She's frankly the exact opposite of Harley. Harley was like always Harley's Harley. She gets along with everybody. She can get along in a group Pamela Isley is the exact opposite of that, and that difference in character really shines through here in Erika Henderson's characterizations and in the dialogue, and in particular the way Ma Henkel wants to basically she's you could tell she's very hard ass Ma Henkel, but she also she cares about the people of the street. She cares about Harley, and she even cares about Pamela. She tries to get Pamela to open up. The issue ends on a cliffhanger with Clayface showing up and maybe attacking Ma Henkel. I feel that it's lost its momentum a little bit because the first 4 issues, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was exciting the way they were just escaping the Joker. And I would have liked to have just left it in the air, like at the end of issue 4 would have been fine for me. But this is all right. This is all right. And it really is okay. I just feel that, well, this felt almost like we're taking a breath and we're taking a breather from the excitement, from the momentum and the adrenaline rush of the first 4 issues. And so it felt like a little bit of a downer to me. I put this down at issue 7, so it just missed my top 5.
Yeah, another one. All right, so this is really going to surprise a lot of people. Green Lantern is up next. Green Lantern 34, A Star is Born, from writer Jeremy Adams. Art by Guara and Montos. Colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr. Letters by Dave Sharp. This is not in my top 5. It was okay. I didn't really think anything special or memorable. Doesn't move the plot forward for Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner both. Kyle Rayner a little bit, Hal Jordan more so. But it felt like complete setup for me. So I wouldn't go so far as to say I was disappointed, but it also didn't excite me. And part of why it's down at number 7 for me is I really didn't like the art. I thought the art was inconsistent. I mean, obviously you have 2 different artists, and these are artists whose style, Montos and Guara, their styles aren't anything alike in my mind. And the amalgamation of it just didn't work. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. In a lot of ways, because I have been enjoying Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps, and obviously Emperor Aquaman from Jeremy as well. So, yeah, this one just didn't land for me this week. Yeah, Hal Jordan. God, it's like there's one scene where it's a close up of his face. I didn't think it looked anything like him. Yeah, the most exciting development being I think it's the introduction. I don't think I've ever seen this kid before. Toby Y2K, the last son of Earth. Interesting to find out who he is. Yeah, what the Guardians are doing, like explaining the Guardians' behavior. No idea what's going on there either. So yeah, it did set things up going forward, but as a standalone, yeah, it didn't land for me. So, what are your thoughts on it?
I enjoyed this. This was in my. I put this in my top 5. It just came in at number 4 for me. I consider this week to be my top 4. This is coming in at right at number 4. I've never heard of Toby Y2K. I'm sure the last son of Earth. That's interesting. I'm sure somebody in the chat or in the comments will enlighten us. I never Googled the name. Maybe he exists in DC lore. Maybe he doesn't. But it's interesting. Definitely got my curiosity. I do miss Monto's art. He's credited here, but I'm not sure which page he drew, but I like the fact that Odyssey and Kyle Rayner are they're on Earth, and Odyssey's getting a job, and Kyle Rayner's, he's trying to get a job as an artist, and he's trying to explain to her that, you can't just, in California, you can't just walk around and, jobs don't find you. You got to work hard to get your job, and I'm an artist, and I know what I'm talking about. And some movie director sees Odyssey and comes up and says, do you want to be a star? I want to put you in a movie. So it's kind of funny. I thought it was actually, I laughed out loud in a couple parts. I thought it was really good. I really like the rapport that Odyssey and Kyle Rayner have. And it's interesting. I thought that early on, Jeremy Adams was going to maybe have Odyssey and Connor Kent get together. I thought maybe there was a potential possibility there of romance between the two of them. But Connor's not around anymore. Now it's just Kyle and Odyssey. And I'm wondering, are these two, does Jeremy Adams have some plan for these two? Kyle has a way. Kyle's kind of a romance. Everybody talks about how Hal Jordan has a different alien in every alien port, but Kyle Rayner gets around too. And so I find I really like the rapport between Kyle and Odyssey. And I kind of like their little misadventures that they have in California. And so that was really the highlight of the issue for me. I don't understand. I'm Iguana's, is that his name? The artist, Guara. The way he draws Jordan, I'm definitely not. I'm not used to that particular look for Hal Jordan, but it's art is art. It's subjective. I'm a little bit curious where it's going, and I have no. I really have. I have no idea. I have no idea why Hal Jordan was in the book of Oa, why the Guardians now, they don't want him to reveal the secrets, and this Toby Y2K. So full props to Jeremy Adams. He's very good at sort of pulling characters out of nowhere and bringing them back and making them interesting. So I'm definitely curious. He's got my curiosity. But it didn't, this was sort of a little bit of a breather of an issue, but it was nice. It felt like it had some comedy, some lightheartedness, while at the same time sort of setting things up for things to come.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Up next, we have Justice League Unlimited, we're up to issue number 18 here. Mark Waid, the writer, Clayton Henry on art, Tamara Bonvillain on colors, Ariana Mayer on letters. The art by Clayton Henry, I continue to really enjoy his art whenever he's on a book. But that being said, this came in at number 9 for me. Again, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, because there were some funny moments. Mark Waid, when it comes to dialogue, is one of the best, particularly the little Plastic Man quips and what have you. I just, the story itself, like this idea of giving the villains amnesty, basically because, the visions that those characters in the DCKO tournament, they know that when Darkseid comes back, kind of in their words, a paraphrase, are saying, good, hero and villain doesn't matter. We're all going to be fighting for, existence, basically. It's either exist or don't exist. So we all need to be on the same team. So they're giving these villains a chance to be members of the Justice League. The thing is, it's like, how many times have we seen this kind of thing where you trust a villain and it doesn't work out? So it seems a little silly in my mind for these heroes to go back and make the same type of mistake they've made time and again.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what bothers me about it, and why it's kind of so low on the totem pole here.
Yeah.
But the art's great and the scripting's great. So technically it's a very good comic. It's just, it feels derivative. So that's why it's so low for me.
Yeah. One of the things about the Justice League Unlimited, it very much is a comic that feels like it doesn't really need to exist, but it sort of always hints at, tells you what's happening in other comic books. It's sort of like happening on the periphery, but you're sort of getting the bigger picture. I will say that with Batman, with Batman and Wonder Woman and Shazam, talking about, giving villains amnesty, and they want to keep this secret. I got to tell you, I thought, who do these heroes think they are? They got no right. Literally no right at all, and I don't even think they have any legal authority to decide that the heroes get amnesty. Now, maybe this is me just being, I'm not trying to be high and mighty on my legal horse here. I'm just saying that it just seems a little bit, I'm surprised that even from as a plot perspective, you think they maybe would have talked to the world governments before you decide to give amnesty to a bunch of supervillains who have repeatedly, time and time again, caused all kinds of destruction on the planet Earth. I realize that there's larger multiversal things at place here, but it just, I thought it was sort of an interesting, kind of an odd play, and the heroes even want to keep it secret from Earth. How do you even keep that from a secret? Don't tell the people of Earth that we're letting the villains roam around, and we're going to decide whether or not we're going to send them to the Phantom Zone if they misbehave. No, thank you very much. We have legal systems on various countries all over the globe. I like the fact that Lex Luthor, of all people, he's the one who's given the amnesty. Lex Luthor himself is the one that reveals the secret to the world that, by the way, the heroes here are giving us all amnesty. Now, just leave it to Lex Luthor. Even though he benefits from it, he upsets the apple cart. And there's also a really great scene where Lex Luthor resolves a dispute with a supervillain by literally buying the weapons that they need as opposed to fighting him, which I thought was just great. And as Lex Luthor says himself, one of his weapons is money. Much like Bruce Wayne, Batman said that on more than a few occasions, that money is a weapon when utilized properly. But in any event, it did have some moments, and we did see Epoch show up. He's in the pages of Action Comics and Booster Gold and Mary Marvel and Martian Manhunter. So this is not a necessary comic to read if you want to enjoy the other comics. It just isn't. But you can get you get bits and pieces of what's going on in other comics. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of ties everything together in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have The Flash, issue number 32 from writer Ryan North. Illustrated by Gavin Guidry. Colors by Adriana Lucas. Letters by Buddy Bedoin. It's in your top five. It's in my top five as well. What did you think?
This one is not in my top five. Absolute Flash is in my top five. This is came in number 8 for me. I can go first if you like, or
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I just this wasn't even that it was, I guess, bad. I just thought, again, everything below my top 4 actually I thought was just sort of mediocre, and I thought this was just sort of more of the same. It's just the whole premise of, I thought the premise is maybe kind of cool. I don't know if anything. I don't think. I was hoping something more interesting would be done with it. A villain, somebody is creating an app where people are basically they get paid money if they're going to jump off the roof, and if Flash can save them, they get money, and that gets really out of hand. And Flash himself is has to come up with some creative ways by getting people to stop participating in this, because it's very risky. And what if I can't save them all? What if I can't save you? Don't be so foolish. And it reaches a point where Captain Cold, one of the rogues, approaches Flash and actually has to jump off a roof in order to get Flash's attention, ironically, and says that somebody's after them. There's something more going on here, and he feels that even his life's in danger too, as well as the Flash's potentially. So we have an interesting team up between Captain Cold and Wally, and where is this going to go? I'm not really sure, but it is a fun issue. It's a fun issue. And, I guess at the end, it looks like they're looking for an atomic weapon that is actually going to be exploded. So it's just a lot's going on here, but given the fact that this was leading to a nuclear weapon potentially going off, I just don't feel the gravitas of the moment. And I don't know if why that is, but it just never really hit, and it didn't really resonate with me, this issue. But it's in your top 5, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, God, I can't remember how. I guess since Jeremy Adams on Flash, that Flash has been an enjoyable book. It's been so morose, and not enjoyable, and that's the thing that surprised me that probably the most about it, and it's why it's ranked in my top 3 actually. Because this is Wally as a family man. This is, last issue we had him trying to save face by heating up the lasagna by running with it and using the friction, and it burns the bottom, and the top is still frozen. and here, he's at the dinner table and he keeps having to run off to rescue people, and the family's understanding but also giving him a bad time, literally calling it out. Yeah, most families would be annoyed if the father was leaving every 15 seconds in the middle of dinner. But everything is so matter of fact for them. This is just the life that they lead, and there's a charm to this comic, and that's an adjective that I would never use at any point for any of the previous 2 runs. Now, granted, the one with Mark Waid and Christopher Cantwell, that was all tied into DCKO, so it really couldn't be what this is, or what Jeremy Adams' run is, talking about family and what have you. But there's such a charm, and there's such a classic feel and a timeless feel to this, as opposed to something like Justice League Unlimited, where it does tie into current events and you can kind of read that and catch up with what's going on with all these different heroes. This is like Detective Comics from Tom Taylor, where you read Ryan North's Flash, and this could be set anytime in DC continuity. You don't need to read anything else to read this and enjoy it. And the challenge of what Wally's facing here, I said it last issue, what an interesting idea it was that, here's this app. We all know how people want to be famous and people want money and people are, addicted to social media and their phones and what have you. And they're putting themselves in danger as like this viral thing. Like we've seen time and again with these different TikTok challenges or whatever it is in the real world. So this is all too believable, but the answer to it. Like, how do you fix it? That's what Wally's struggling with. And it's so interesting. It's such an interesting idea that Ryan North's come up with, because it does seem like an almost impossible problem to solve. Like, how can you get people to stop doing it? Well, you can just stop rescuing them, and 3 or 4 people die, and then people are going to be like, oh, Flash doesn't care. Well, Wally doesn't want that on his conscience. And we do see, like Raggy mentioned, and we talked about it last issue, eventually somebody's going to get hurt. Yeah, there's a 14-year-old boy gets hit by a train. He survives, but then the newspaper's calling Wally out. And it's like he did everything he could. He was over stopping a woman from blowing herself up by mixing volatile chemicals in her toilet while this boy was being hit by a train. So he's in a tough spot. As fast as he is, he can't be everywhere at once. And so, yeah, the added aspect of, hey, this is somebody who's building a nuclear weapon, who's using this as a distraction. I didn't want the gravitas, as you said. Like, I don't want Flash to be a book where it leans into the seriousness. Is it a serious threat? Yeah, it's a serious threat. Wally's certainly taking it serious, but there's humor here, even in the interactions between him and Captain Cold, who are reluctantly working together. Like, Captain Cold's constantly zinging him, and I'm here for it. I love it because that's the fun. This reminds me of the best, most fun classic eras of the Flash. Wally is not Barry. If you want to have a Flash book that has a little more gravitas, and some people take that as boring. That's why Barry Allen, I think, has that reputation of being boring. And honestly, I just feel like the generation that thinks Barry is boring, they're the generation that got stuck with the trial of the Flash, which dragged on for like 3 years. Which, if you want to be technical, like when you're talking about a murder trial, a high-profile murder trial, in a way, that's sort of, it's not what they weren't going for realism. But in the real world, a high-profile murder trial can easily take three years. So in that way, it wasn't completely unrealistic. But my God, was it? You want to talk about boring? Like, don't get me wrong, Barry Allen is my Flash. I love Wally too, but Barry Allen was the Flash that I first started reading, and the one that made me fall in love with the character. And even I found that boring. So anyway, this is not boring. This is fun. It's family centric, and more than anything, it's humorous, and that's really what I enjoy. And I've been surprised. Like, again, I jumped off of Ryan North's Fantastic Four. It just didn't do it for me. I did enjoy his crypto book that he did at DC not so long ago, and so I didn't know what to expect on Flash. Was it going to work for me, or was it not going to work for me? 2 issues in, it's really working. It's really working for me. Like, I love this. I think the Gavin Guidry art is fantastic. It's lending itself to that classic feel as well. So yeah, I mean, this is a book where if somebody came to me and said, I want to pick up a comic, but I don't want to have to, be slave to continuity or what have you. And I don't really go in for the absolute dark stuff or whatever. What do you recommend? Well, I'd recommend Aquaman. I'd recommend this. I'd recommend Detective Comics. Like, the DC is putting out some books where you don't necessarily have to worry about the overarching dark side story, the all-in story, the fallout of DCKO and what's to come. You can just pick this up on its own. Hey, I just want one comic a month. All right, well, you got 3 choices. There you go. And really, basically, I'd say Detective Comics, Aquaman, or Flash. Aquaman does tie into DCKO a little bit more than the other two, but man, Detective Comics or Flash, 100% you can read those and you're not reading anything else and you'd be perfectly fine. So, excuse me. All right, let's move on. Up next, we have Harley Quinn, number 61, from writer Elliot Kalan. Carlos Oliveras on art, Marissa Louise on colors, Lucas Catoni on letters. This came in at number 8 for me. That being said, I really enjoyed it. The whole premise is completely ludicrous, but it's Harley Quinn. You sort of expect that. So we have Bat Quinn, and we find out her origin. Come to find out the Quintellect, Harley's brain, it's not her physical brain, but maybe think of it as her intellectual consciousness is probably the best way to put it, has been separated out from her body and given its own body. And so, again, this isn't like the most original story in the world. We've seen this. Yeah, think of it as multiple personalities, 2 different people. but again, like the humor here and the dialogue and the inner monologue that the Bat Quinn character has is so funny. It's so dark and brooding and just really, but over the top satirical. And so, while I'm still not the biggest fan of the Carlos Oliveira's art because it's a little bit messy, it does work for the story that's being told, and this is really interesting. This is a really interesting story. It's not laugh out loud funny, humorous, and maybe in that way it's a little less straight humor than we had early on in the Elliot Kalan run. I kind of prefer this. So, despite it being at number 8, I really I had a good time reading this. I thought it was really good. So, what were your thoughts on it?
This is the second comic now that I'm going to have Scott Snyder. I'll have to reread some interviews. Second reference by a writer believing that alpha energy was bestowed upon all the contestants post Omega. They weren't. It's not alpha energy, it's Omega energy. But I guess this one says they all received Omega alpha energy they received during that weird tournament. They never received alpha energy during that tournament. It was always Omega energy. I don't know where they're getting alpha energy from. But I must be wrong. So there must have been, at some point, I'd really like to know where this alpha energy came from. But it's affecting all these heroes in different ways, and it's affecting Harley Quinn in this way. Here's what I liked about this issue that was interesting, is that with the Bat Quinn and then her Quintellect, it's divided into two. It was sort of a missed opportunity. And unfortunately, because one of the things that I've always said, well, in fact, I've said it, you've said it as well, that at different times, for the most part, this Harley Quinn maybe really just isn't written for us, maybe more so me than you, but that's how I've kind of felt. And I thought, well, this is an opportunity to give us a darker Harley, finally. So we get this Bat Quinn. It's a darker Harley. So, and what's interesting about this is that the fun, jokey Harley that, frankly, I'm kind of sick of. The blonde bimbo, happy-go-free-lucky Harley. I'm glad Poison Ivy and her are broken up. I'm glad. The Harley that I don't like, and I'm in the minority probably, she's not here. Instead, we got this Quintellect, and we got this Bat Quinn. I don't like Bat Quinn. I think it's uninspired. I don't think it's particularly original, and it's kind of too dark. And a Quintellect is okay, but I kind of wanted more of a darker Harley, not a heroic one. I wanted a darker evil one. But here I am playing script doctor. That's not my job. I got to review the comic that's in front of me, and it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know where it's going. It is kind of funny. It is interesting. It's. What I really like is, could it be that, because now the Poison Ivy's with Janet from HR, arguably, and now we've got this, the girl she was on the date with, Aletha Klang. I mean, she shows up. So maybe, Aletha Klang is very disappointed that the Harley that she fell infatuation or has a crush on, that Harley is gone. And so is this heartbroken aspect that led to Bat Quinn? Is this ultimately going to lead to a new love interest? Are Aletha Klang and Harley finally going to end up together? Is this potentially a long-standing thing? Are Harley and Poison Ivy going to stay broken up? Poison Ivy's issue is approaching issue 50, where we speculated maybe Harley and Poison Ivy will get back together with Poison Ivy issue 50. Or maybe, who knows, maybe in the pages of Harley Quinn. I don't know. But I have no idea where writer Elliot Kalan is going with this. But he's definitely I'm really curious to see what he's doing here. And I still like this Aletha Klang character, and I just don't know what to think of this. I don't know what to think. So I have no idea where this could be going. But he's definitely got my attention. This came in at number 7 for me. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, in DCKO 5, when Superman sacrificed himself, I'm pretty sure that was alpha energy. There's certain characters that got omega energy from interacting with the Heart of Apocalypse. But
the thing is, in order to win, he needed to get all the omega energy. That was the point of winning the tournament. What alpha energy does he have? That's what he got it from Doomsday. Doomsday had alpha energy. I got that, but I
It
thought,
says right here, DC KO5 unleashes alpha energy, granting new major superpowers across the DC universe.
yeah, I don't know where that would originate from. I guess from Doomsday himself, not from. So when
From
Superman lost all his Omega
Superman?
energy, and that caused all the heroes to have visions. Or am I wrong? It was the alpha energy that's causing heroes that contestants to have all the visions. Like, it just seems.
Yeah, the Time Trapper resurrected Superman, and then he sacrificed himself, and when he sacrificed himself, he gave everybody his alpha energy.
His alpha.
That was
Okay.
my understanding. There's
All right.
that. It's that page in DC KO5 that's he's on the right side. It's circular, and there's like these concentric circles radiating out, and you see like this lightning because it's coming from him, and it goes out and it touches all these people. That was my. That's what I.
Well,
That's what I thought.
obviously you're right. I agree with that. Has to be the case. I just for all the talk on Omega, and I thought what an about
Omega
shift.
Omega, you're right. Omega was, they were all fighting to win. Whoever won the tournament was going to get the Omega energy and have enough power to defeat Darkseid. But obviously that didn't really happen the way that they thought it was going to happen because Superman refused to kill even Darkseid.
Yeah.
Then he took himself. Yeah, it's almost like he got the Omega energy and used it to restart the universe, but then used his own internal alpha energy to kind of set everything back correctly. I don't know. I'd have to go back and reread it because it's been too long already. But yeah, I do remember that moment though of him sharing the alpha energy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I haven't really, I've noticed it. Obviously, it's been a thing. It's been mentioned in several comics, as you said, about alpha energy, but I don't think it's a mistake necessarily. So anyway, let's move on. Where are we at here? Oh, Superman number 37 is up next from writer Joshua Williamson, art by Dan Mora, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, letters by Ariana Mayer. This is in my top 3. It's in your top 5 as well. Continues to be very meta, focusing on Superboy Prime. So give us your thoughts.
Yeah, just more fun. Every DC comic collector that's been collecting comics from anywhere from probably 2 years to 50, can get something out of Superboy Prime. The conversation that he's having here, Superboy Prime the Justice League is worried about him. They're following him around. Power Girl, and there's a whole team there. Power Girl, Captain Atom, a Green Lantern, Hawk Girl. They're following him around because, of course, they remember him being a monster from Infinite Crisis, and he's visiting the Kents, and he's even telling them, I'm glad you two are alive, because in different comic book iterations, the Kents are dead, and he's aware of the comic book lives and the various DC comic book eras of Rebirth, New 52. He's actually aware. He's literally a character in the DC universe who knows the fates or the past fates of what's happened with these characters, and in some cases what will happen to them. But he also wants to live his life. He also wants to start a brand new life. And everything from his interactions when he's at the comic book shop, he loves the comic book shop. He reads a lot of comics. He's a little bit slow in the uptake. Superboy Prime can't seem to catch on when an attractive girl is clearly hitting on him. So he seems to be very naive in that regard. So as powerful as he is and as deadly as he can be, he's probably, he is a little bit slow when it comes to the with the female department. I don't think his instincts are particularly sharp. But I suppose that's true for a lot of potential alpha males. I don't know. But in any event, there's a lot of great scenes where he's clearly having comic book arguments. And anybody who collects comics, whether you collect DC or Marvel, I think you'd really, really enjoy this issue. And then when you add to that just Superboy Prime himself, he's trying to get a handle on the world. He ends up talking to Damian Wayne. He goes and visits Crime Alley, and they end up confronting Clayface. And it's really a fun issue. And he gets advice from Superboy. He gets advice from Damian, and he has another one of his visions of him in his past adventures where he was where he was a genocidal maniac. And exactly where this is going, I'm not sure. The Justice League does back away. Martha Kent says, give him a chance to prove himself, and they take her advice. But it ends up that this girl is a witch, and she wants to. And I don't think this girl, she's looking for an innocent person to sacrifice. And what's so funny is that you could not have picked the least innocent person on the planet. This poor girl is going to be choosing Superboy Prime to sacrifice. I mean, it's just hilarious to think of that, and I'm so looking forward to the next issue to see what this feels like a disaster waiting to happen. And I can't believe how much fun I'm having with this issue and with this whole series. And this Superman. I mean, this could be his own series. You could literally call this a Superboy Prime series. I already know that when Superman returns, I want Superboy Prime to get his own series. Straight up. I mean, this is a no-brainer. But I love this issue. The art is fantastic. Love the art. And that's, Dan Mora in the art. Just really good stuff. Easily made my top. This is in my top 3. So what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I said it last time, and since we reviewed the last issue, I've had a chance to talk to Joshua Williamson. Might have him on the show. We'll see if we can work that out. He's just super busy, and obviously I'm super busy as well. But yeah, maybe we'll make it happen. We'll see. But I mentioned last time about how Superboy Prime has become the most meta character in the DCU, where he's not only commenting on events that have happened and referencing them, and you called it out, how he even tells the Kents, I'm glad you guys are alive, and there's even a little note there about Mark Waid is the one that said that he prefers when they're dead, what have you. So it's just funny that all of a sudden Superboy Prime has become more relatable, and at the same time our POV character, while at the same time the way we as fans, and this is the thing that I think is completely brilliant, the way that we as fans feel about him lines up with the way that the characters in the DC universe feel about them, where we're all walking around on eggshells. We're all just waiting for the other shoe to drop and for Superboy Prime to snap and go back to killing people. And the fact that he is aware of that, and there's even part of him that goes, I almost just want to do it because it's what everybody expects of me. And I can relate to that as well, and I think a lot of people can, where you're like, when everybody makes assumptions about you and assumes you're going to screw up and, assumes you're going to do a particular thing, you almost just want to do it just to spite them, especially when it's something bad. Just be like, oh, is that that's who you think I am? Then fine, that's who I'll be. You know what I mean? And so it makes for a really interesting character on a lot of levels. Yes, Witchfire shows up. Yes, Witchfire hits on him. Yes, he sort of doesn't get it, but despite all the horrendous things that Superboy Prime has done, and I've talked about kind of wishing they could somehow restore him back to the character he originally was when he showed up. Too much has happened. There's too many scars. He's done too many horrible things. And I've talked about him not really ever having grown up or experienced things. So you can understand why when it comes to girls, maybe that's the one portion of his personality, because he never had a relationship or never really had any friendships, really. So you could see why maybe he wouldn't be able to pick up on those social clues. But yeah, the fact it is a little bit of a kind of an ex deus machina. That's not exactly the right thing, right? Because this is not something that saves the day, where Joshua Williamson has painted himself in the corner here. But it does seem like, okay, so Superboy Prime has a job at a comic book store, which is also really fun in a lot of ways. And he's trying to make a life for himself, and he's trying to do the right thing, and he's just looking for that chance. And then of all the people in Metropolis, Witchfire just so happens to go into that comic shop and meet somebody that she doesn't know, Superboy Prime, and he's the person that she wants to sacrifice because he does seem so innocent. I mean, it does seem like, wow, what are the odds on that? Go out and buy a lottery ticket. But I get it; it's in service to the story, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But the Dan Mora art is gorgeous. I mean, Superboy Prime is one of my favorite characters. I wasn't a big fan when he took the heel turn, and it was tough, and I kept waiting for him to be redeemed. But at the same time, it's like I understand where the other heroes are coming from. How can you be redeemed when you've killed hundreds, if not more? Um, but I get it. I understand. So there's even a moment in the book where they reference Infinite Crisis when Makan is talking to Power Girl, and yes, we know the horrible things that he's done, and it's referenced. Infinite Crisis is referenced, but it's a reference I don't think I've ever seen in a comic before. In terms of, usually it's like, oh, here's a little asterisk that references something they're talking about. Go and read this to find out more context. This editor's note is like, don't go read this because it shows the horrible things that he's done. So it's kind of a tongue in cheek reference there, which I thought was really interesting. So yeah, I mean, this was fantastic. Again, I'm predisposed to like it because it's Superboy Prime, and I love that character. But yeah, I also thought the interaction between him and Damian, as you mentioned, was really interesting because Damian is a character, and Superboy Prime's aware of this. Hey, let me ask you a question. When you first showed up, you were a killer, and nobody trusted you, and now they've come around to your side of things. And Damian being Damian and saying he does, I don't care what anybody thinks, and then admitting later that that's not the case. So yeah, brilliantly done by Joshua Williamson. This continues to be a really fantastic book. All right. Up next, we have Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery from Chris Condon as writer, and Jacob Phillips doing art with Hassan Otsman Elhau on letters. This is in my top 5. Yeah, it comes in at number 5. We get a little bit more context about Ezra Kane and find out that when he left the police force, it wasn't on the best of terms. They still hold a grudge. Not really getting the answers that he would like in terms of solving the two cases that he's on that seem to be connected together. But he does find the missing guy, the husband that he was supposed to find, and the husband's like, hey, I'm fine. I haven't been home because I enjoy working. Which, who the hell, that would be a super red flag. Less so, I guess, in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s. But he, raises suspicions for him as well. So the story is moving forward, and the reason that I continue to really enjoy this more than anything is the Jacob Phillips art and how that goes hand in hand with the story that Chris Condon's weaving in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of this feels like the late 30s, early 40s. This feels like a pulp noir story, and that's what it is. And if you like those types of stories, if you like crime noir, um, with a little hint of possible supernatural and a lot of mystery going on, then this is the perfect comic for you. So, um, it's what Vertigo was known for back in the day. A really diverse, almost art style house of telling stories. Some things were more new age, and some things were more crime noir, and some things were more esoteric, and it was just really good. Again, diversity of story and all types of stories, all types of genres, just executed at a very high level technically, and DC has brought Vertigo back, and I'm happy to say that that's the thing that they brought back that has worked so well. And in the past, that hasn't always been the case. Vertigo started to feel a little homogenous toward the end of its run last time. And they even tried to do some really kind of out there stuff with their Young Animal imprint. I think a lot of that stuff didn't work because again, even though it was supposed to be, hey, we're bringing in these new voices and we're trying new things, it felt homogenous. It all just felt weird, right? Whether it was the Doom Patrol from Gerard Way or the Cape Carson as a cybernetic guy or whatever. It all just felt weird, and weird for weirdness' sake rather than weird because that was the story they wanted to tell. Vertigo has come back, and I mean, kudos to them for saying, okay, well, the Nice House series that James Tynion does fits in very well with Vertigo because that was already established and very, very good. But whether we're talking about End of Life or Bleeding Hearts or The Brutal Dark, they all feel like classic Vertigo in that they're very technically well executed comics and they do feel very different types of stories, but really good stories. So I've been really impressed, and I've been enjoying every one of them so far, and I'm looking forward to having more Vertigo titles come out. And I wasn't a big Vertigo guy back in the day, because a lot of it I would read it and go, eh. Like Sandman Mystery Theater was one that I kind of enjoyed, but I was reading so much stuff back then. I was like, eh. I never read Sandman. I still to this day haven't read Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Um, I remember trying to read The Invisibles by Grant Morrison, and I was like, WTF, man, I'm out. So yeah, I haven't read a lot of that old school Vertigo. Hellblazer, again, like I wasn't a horror comic guy, still really not. So I dip in on that here and there. So yeah, but this Vertigo is speaking a lot more to me, and I don't know, maybe it's just more aligned closely with kind of the main stories of mainline DC, even though they're not, obviously have characters in the mainline DCU. Maybe it's more. I would be interested. People that read a lot of Vertigo back in the day. If you read a ton of Vertigo back in the day, leave some comments below and let me know if this has the same feel of Vertigo back then, or if it feels more like, well, these could just be books in the mainline DC. I'm really curious to know how this compares in kind of feel and what have you to how Vertigo was back in the day. So yeah, comes in at number 5. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. Not in your top 5, Rocky, but anything to add?
Yeah, it came in number 6 for me. This was just missed my top 5, but Ezra Kane, this was much more. We get a lot more substance this issue. We meet much more of the supporting cast. We meet Sandy Williams, the reporter. I think she made an appearance in the first 2 issues a little bit, but we meet her. She's investigating something called the Brutal Dark. We know this is all linked to the sort of a museum heist where this hammer of Hephaestus was stolen. One of the persons that works at the museum is supposedly gone missing, and it looks like Ezra Kane has found him, but it looks like he's being forced to work under duress by a mafia figure who you meet at the beginning, and this guy basically tells Ezra, this worker tells him, just tell my wife I'm fine, essentially. But clearly something's going on. There's a lot of manipulation going on. There's still a lot of mystery. And, this is just sort of establishing and setting up all the pieces in place on the chessboard before a lot of them, I have a feeling, are going to be taken off the chessboard, so to speak. And so it's very interesting. It's very well done. And yeah, it's, and it feels like classic Vertigo, and those of us who've read the classic Vertigo or back in the day, I know what you mean. It's a little bit hard to articulate. I know what you mean. I bought a lot of that Vertigo up until when it ended too, and it didn't quite feel quite the same. But in any event, if I didn't know better, part of me would think Karen Berger has come back to Vertigo, even though technically she hasn't. But anyways, this was a good issue.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. She was kind of the one that made sure that level of quality was there. So anyway, all right. Up next, we have Absolute Flash 14. This is in my top 5. It's in Rocky's as well. It's Mirror Master Part 2 of 2. Written by Jeff Lemire, Haining on art, Adriana Lucas on colors, Tom Napolitano on letters. I really got to say, with the last couple issues, Absolute Flash feels like it's finally hitting its stride. No pun intended. So yeah, give us your thoughts, Rocky. What'd you think?
Yeah, this almost didn't make my top 5. I could have put Brutal Dark in it. I could actually kind of change it, but we'll say it's in the top 5. It feels. This entire issue is Wally and Linda being lost in the Mirror universe, which those of us in the mainstream DC universe, we're familiar with this. So if you're a new reader and you're not familiar with it, you'll be kind of cool, because basically the Mirror Master has basically multiple versions of himself in the Mirror universe. At least that's how it is in the mainstream universe. It was what caused me to put this in my top 5 is Jeff Lemire at least has a little bit more of a newer outlook on terms of how he's framing this Mirror universe, and that is to say that essentially this Mirror universe guy, the villain, he basically he's dying, and he has to, and he likes to he doesn't like to be trapped in the mirrors, so he's got to go back or he'll die. But every time he goes back into the mirrors, another cloned, sort of like undead version of himself occupies the mirrors. And essentially what happens in this issue is that Wally and Linda eventually escape the mirrors, but as they escape and as they're leaving, it's discovered that cloned versions of Wally and Linda are now within this mirror universe as well. And, what's going to become of that? A deal is made between Wally and this, I forget what's this guy's name again? The mirror. He's got a. Is it
Master?
Yeah, Mirror Master. I guess I'm calling him Mirror Master. I think he's got a name, but in any event,
his name's. I mean, it's Scudder, the same as
Scudder. Yeah,
same as regular DCU.
Yeah, thank you. Scudder's his name. I couldn't for the life of me think of that. But he makes a deal with Scudder, saying, "Look, help me find my dad." Scudder says, "You help me out. Find me a way to get out of here where I won't die." And you can start with Ray Palmer, so we get a mention of an absolute Ray Palmer, and I will help, and I will find a mirror that will take you to a universe where you can rescue your dad, because that's Wally's priority. And so that's it. Interestingly enough, the one thing that I found really annoying when I read this digitally, because we're reading it digitally when we get these preview copies, I really found it annoying, those pages where the pages were opposite and almost like we have to read them, they're upside down, or we gotta, I guess if you have a physical copy, it'll be easier to flip the comic book upside down because they're in the mirror universe. And so you got to flip the comic book in order to read it. It was very annoying digitally. And I really didn't enjoy that. I found that very annoying.
That's why you rated it so low. Why it's not higher.
Yeah, that maybe, but it is in it is in number 5. But the story itself finally feels like we're getting something a little bit interesting, because the plot points are more interesting than they have been for me, and hopefully this will pick up. But so yeah, it's not bad. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of Mirror Master, Sam Scudder, classic rogue Mirror Master villain, who I want to say was murdered by the current Mirror Master, Evan McCullough, I think is his name. But here, we're going with the classic. We're going with Sam Scudder, and it's interesting to look at it. So every time, as Rocky said, something happened similar to what happened to Barry Allen, because Sam Scudder was one of the scientists that was working for Thrawn, Eleanor Thrawn, and a couple others are mentioned. Ray Palmer is mentioned. But yeah, something happened, and he got thrown into this mirror universe, as Rocky mentioned. And every time he leaves, he leaves a reflection behind, but he can't be gone too long, or he'll die. He starts to feel sick. And yeah, he doesn't want to be in there, because every time he goes back in, there's another clone of him there, because he leaves a reflection behind. And these clones, for whatever reason, want to kill him. And yeah, the big cliffhanger ending here is, Linda and Wally escape, but they've left behind reflections of them as well, and you assume they're evil, just like Scudder's clones are evil. And then you think, but why would that be the case? Scudder calls them soulless, and so maybe they're not real living beings; they're just reflections, and so maybe they don't have a soul, and that makes them inherently evil. Wouldn't necessarily make that leap, but if you want to say, well, actually Scudder is actually kind of a good guy in terms of his intentions, and we know Wally's trying to be a hero, and Linda has good intentions as well. Then if you want to talk about these being reflections, right, like a mirror image is opposite. So if we make the assumption that inherently Sam Scudder, Wally West, Linda Park are all good people, then the opposite, reflection of that would be bad people or evil people. And so maybe that's why, I don't know, it remains to be seen. But the more important thing is, as I'm reading this Flash book and I'm thinking about these things, this is what I like in a comic. Like, things are actually happening that are interesting and moving the plot forward, rather than just, oh, here's Wally angsting out, trying to figure out what happened to him, and there's a weird looking monkey, and there's rogues that are, are following orders but not following orders, whatever. It just, I don't know, compared to the first few issues, the first 12 issues, that seemed a little chaotic and haphazard, and didn't really feel like it was moving toward anything. These last couple issues have felt like there's purpose, right? Wally has a purpose. Go find his dad in the still zone and rescue him. And now he has a path toward that. The agreement he makes with Scudder is to go find Eleanor Thrawn, because Scudder believes that Thrawn is the only one that can save him and allow him to leave the mirror universe and not have to go back to keep himself alive and put himself in danger from the, reflections or clones or whatever you want to call them. And since Wally wants to rescue his father and Scudder can lead him to the Steel Zone, then yeah, Wally's going to do it. And Linda's now invested as well, because she got a chance to see her brother, who she's been separated from for a couple of years, and he doesn't look like he's in the best situation. And so, she's along for the ride, wanting to rescue her brother. So there's stakes. There's like a purpose. There feels like there's an actual plot rather than just moving things along. We talked so many times and criticized this series so many times in the first 12 issues. And one of the main criticisms was for myself, that I said time and again, was it didn't feel like Wally had any agency. He was a passenger in his own book, in his own story. And at times, it felt more like this should have been Absolute Rogues and not Absolute Flash, because Wally felt like a kind of a supporting character in his own book. That's not the case here. It wasn't the case last issue or what have you. So it really, for me, feels like those last couple issues of Absolute Flash, it's really started to move forward. As far as the upside down trick or whatever that makes it a little tough digitally, I agree with you that it was annoying. And for myself, what I did was, I was reading it on my computer, and I was like, let me go get my iPad. And so I got my iPad so I could
and flipped it.
I just turned my iPad upside down. Was able to read it no problem. And it was great. But yeah, anybody who gets digital comics and reads them on their computer, you can't really turn your monitor upside down, so you might struggle a little bit. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I was glad I was able to do that on my iPad, because I read the first bit. Because here's the other part. Like, I go to read it upside down, which I could do. It takes me a little longer, but also it was on my laptop. So when I'm doing it on my laptop, I can't even see the whole screen, because the screen's a lot smaller. It's only like a 13-inch. And if I want it big enough to actually see the dialogue, because it doesn't take up the whole 13 inches in the press preview, because you have other things in the portal take up space. It's kind of small, so I need to zoom in. And if you zoom in, then it's like, wait, can't scroll or whatever. So yeah, I get it. It's a first world problem for sure. But I was glad I was able to. I'm just gonna go get my iPad, flip it upside down, and read it. But I enjoyed it. I thought the Haining art was great. I thought the coloring was great. When I felt there was a big leap in quality for the last issue, it's like, well, it's just one issue. You don't want to jump the gun and say, okay, this is on the right track now. But we're 2 issues in now, and I generally find that I like Jeff Lemire's writing. So I think Absolute Flash is really going to start climbing here. I already, if you put the next issue of Absolute Green Lantern and give me the next issue of Absolute Flash, I'm reading Absolute Flash first, without question. I'm reading that first, and I'm probably reading Absolute Flash before Absolute Batman. Now, that's not going to surprise anybody. We all know my Absolute Batman.
Not this point.
I was actually surprised that I put out the Absolute Batman episode last week. The separate one that just covered that review, and I thought I would get more people reacting to it, but I don't know. People apparently want to react more to young John Kent and Superboy Prime than Absolute Batman. They probably just go, "Oh, Jace, you're just being ridiculous." Oh, and that does remind me. Remember when I was talking to Absolute Batman and I was saying the contrarian thing, like, I'm not being the word I couldn't think of. It was hipster. Like when you're a hipster and you don't like anything that's conventional or that's in the current zeitgeist, you always want to be contrarian. I'm not a hipster. I mean, I think people could look at me and know I'm not a hipster. And there's all the stereotypes of a hipster, like I was mentioning last week. They grow beards and they wear flannel and whatever. So I don't know. It just was kind of funny. It bugged me enough that I went researching and I was like, what is it? So yeah, anyway. That's absolute flash. I am enjoying it. It came in my top 3. I don't know if I mentioned that. So anyway, up next, Detective Comics number 1108, Flight Part 2. Tom Taylor. We have Pete Woods on the majority of the art, but we do have Bruno Obvious filling in on pages 8 through 17. And then on those Pete Woods pages, he colors himself, but the Bruno pages, Lee Lowridge colors those, and then Wes Abbott is on letters. Like I was mentioning earlier, this is standalone. You can read this and you don't have to read anything else. I enjoyed the art throughout, although it was, I wouldn't say jarring, but I did notice the change in art style. I do prefer the Pete Woods pages. I love what he's given us here. It's almost like Pete's style leans a little bit closer to what Mikhail Yanin gives us. But either way, it was really fun. And on top of that, we got the Bat Hatch this week. And if you're going, wait, what the hell is the Bat Hat? Like
Speculator alert.
The Hat Batch. Sorry, I think I said Bat Hatch. Yeah, it's the Hatch, the Hatch Bat. So instead of a hatchback, Bruce is trying to travel incognito, and so he's driving a hatchback. You know, this little like podunk looking car. Doesn't look like anything special. It almost looks like a Yugo from back in the day. If anybody remembers those from back in the 90s. But the thing's cool. Like it turns into a submarine. It has all these features or whatever. And when Green Arrow and Black Canary are in it, they're kind of laughing. They're like, wait, it can do what? Like, what is this hatchbat? The hatchbat is a submarine, and I love Bruce is like, it's what it needs to be. It's whatever it needs to be. So it's a lot of fun, and that's what this Detective Comics run has been, and I appreciate that from Tom Taylor. You know, so many times we've talked in the last couple of years about the power level creep of Batman. I know everything just builds and builds and builds, and all of a sudden he becomes like this almost omniscient, all-powerful character who can't be beat, and that's not the tack that Tom Taylor is taking. And so I really appreciate that. The tension and the drama and the stakes from it come from threats to Gotham City or other people rather than Batman himself. It gets a little cliche at times and a little tired, honestly, to always have Batman fighting against a villain who's out to get Batman. Right, that's so often the case. It certainly was the case in Absolute Batman with the entire Bane arc, right? Like Bane was after Batman, and as opposed to what Tom Taylor has done. You know, we can look at the last arc to see that with Leo and him wanting to infect Gotham City so that nobody feared anything and the consequences of that and what have you. And now we have the same thing here with a businessman who has ill intentions. Apparently, he was trying to buy one of the branches of Queen Industries in Gotham City, and people that are scheduled to testify against him keep dying of natural causes. When 2 out of 3 people that are set to testify against you die of natural causes, yeah, it raises some suspicion. So it's kind of putting the detective back in Detective Comics in a lot of ways, and so I'm really, really enjoying this. You know, I constantly say I'm enjoying the main universe titles more than I am the absolute titles, and I'm naming Green Lantern Corps, Green Lantern, and Aquaman. I really should be putting Detective Comics in that conversation as well, because it's been since Tom Taylor has started his run on Detective Comics, it's been incredible. It's been so good. So, yeah, this was an easy pick for my top 3 this week. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, for sure. This was in my top 3 for sure. I really enjoyed the art. I love the story because, you know, last issue we learned that there was that we're sort of getting a sort of Tom Taylor's doing a really good job rewriting the early years of Batman. That early in Batman's career, he teamed up with a younger Black Canary, Dinah Lance, and Oliver Queen. And in the past they explored and they actually policed, I guess they superheroed Gotham City together. And we get a flashback right at the beginning where we finally meet Preon in his prime, because this Preon character is a character, all we know is that this Preon character died, and that maybe this Preon character's daughter we met last issue visiting Prion's grave. We know that Prion died tragically. We don't really know exactly how. That's yet to be revealed. But we know that he's a character that seemed to garner a lot of initial respect from Batman, Black Canary, and Green Arrow. And so we meet him here for the first time. And then we get, of course, a future. We go. That's in the past, and we get the present. Oliver Queen confronting a corrupt businessman wanting to purchase a branch of Queen Industries. And lo and behold, who shows up but this daughter that was at the graveyard, who we suspect, I think, might be the daughter of Prion who's died. She ends up to be talented enough and possess enough skill that she actually pushes Oliver Queen off the side of a building at the end of this issue. And so that's quite something. So is Prion's daughter a skilled fighter herself? It would appear to be that the case. She even the way she speaks, as she grabs Oliver Queen by the arm to throw him off the building, she says, "This was an easy one." So, that sounds like someone who's done this before. So has she battled before? So this almost reminds me of a young Cassandra Cain, like what's going on here? So definitely good job, Tom Taylor. You whetted my appetite, my curiosity. Where's this going to go? And I agree with you. Tom Taylor's best work at DC is on Detective Comics. For sure. I like it better than his Teen Titans run. But I am looking forward to, we got Dark Knights of Steel coming back up for a resurgence in the next few months. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But yeah, this was a really good issue.
Yeah, this is going to be a little silly, everybody, but I did look it up because I wanted to know for sure. Because I saw that name of this character, Prion, and when I first saw the word, I was like, oh, that's prion. And prion, if you're not familiar, that's a medical term. It refers to proteins that are have somehow mutated and they're not in their correct shape anymore, and they can lead to some diseases or whatever. And that's pronounced prion.
Okay.
But the bird is pronounced prion. So
okay.
If you're curious, Rocky is saying it correctly. Prion, as opposed to if you say prion, you're talking not about the bird, but about those malformed proteins. So prion, everybody, prion.
I said it correctly purely by accident, I can assure you.
Yeah, this is how big of a comic book nerd I am. I'm looking up the correct pronunciations of people's names. All right, last book we're going to talk about in detail, Absolute Wonder Woman. We're up to number 19 here. Kelly Thompson is the writer. Hayden Sherman is the artist. Colors by Jordi Belair. Letters by Becca Carey. We saw last issue Wonder Woman confronting Giovanni Zatara. Made sense of how Veronica Cale was able to get kind of, let's say, get the drop on Zatara because her father was captured and what have you, and that's how she was able to capture her. And obviously through different machinations over the last few years, she's managed to free herself, and now she's 100% an ally of Wonder Woman. And by the two of them working together, they're able to free Giovanni, who seems like a very powerful wizard in his own right. He's able to take out Gigant. In freeing Giovanni, though, Wonder Woman herself gets trapped, but then Zatanna's able to take the guise of Cersei and go and free Diana. But there are going to be consequences. There's going to be a price to pay, and that's very much a trope, I guess you'd say, or kind of like a story rule, a plot rule in DC Comics, that magic always has a cost. It's not limited to DC, right? Like that's a pretty standard kind of a story trope or story plot rule when it comes to magic, that you don't get something for nothing, which is good to have, because honestly, when you talk about magic, that is like the ultimate ex deus machina, right? Like any writer that gets themselves in trouble with has written themselves into a corner can just go, oh, magic, snap your fingers and it, change reality or whatever you want to do. If there's no cost to it, then why not just do that willy nilly? But Wonder Woman does kind of have a moment of doubt in a lot of ways, and is not wielding the troika, those three lassos that she has in the right way in a lot of ways. And that, there's a hint that there's a cost to be paid, even though she's able to be rescued. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But in a lot of ways, this issue is setting up future story points. Cale is a little bit on the ropes here. She's lost Zatanna as a kind of a soldier in her army, if you will. And Dr. Poison is on the lam as well. I think the amphibious creature, I can't remember what her name was killed during this. But
No,
she
she
did
went back
manage.
home. That amphibious creature was sent back to her people.
Okay, there was wasn't there another somebody else that was I thought was killed? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Somebody was stabbed. I'm trying to remember who
Yeah,
that was. I
yeah.
can't
So
remember. Yeah.
anyway, when Giovanni defeated Giganta, however, Giganta was carrying Barbara Minerva. Oh, that's who it was. There was another version of the cheetah
Right. That's
that
right.
was stabbed.
That's right.
And so, the assumption being now that Barbara Minerva has been brought back to Kale's secret lair, or whatever you want to call it, that perhaps she'll be turned into a version of the cheetah,
Right.
because that's certainly, the cheetah most people know, the Barbara Minerva version. So it's not all sunshines and rainbows here. Wonder Woman is going to have to confront her own failings, and there's going to be a price to pay for what she's done, and obviously Barbara being kidnapped, and what might happen to her. And you have to imagine, with these failures sort of stacking up, these losses sort of stacking up, that Veronica Cale is going to be even more determined and desperate, and perhaps more diabolical in her attempts to bring Wonder Woman to heel. So we'll see how that plays out in terms of the events of this issue raising the stakes. So yeah, I continue to really, really enjoy Wonder Woman. It's great to see Giovanni Zatara in action, because he's always been just a plot device. So many Zatanna stories over the years. So to see him actually out there fighting, and really, I mean, the way he defeats Giganta is awesome. He just teleports her back to her cell after kind of knocking her down. It was really great. So, and the art by Hayden Sherman is awesome. I feel like Hayden has really leveled up his page layouts, with um, different shaped panels, and just really, really great storytelling from Hayden. I mean, he did win the Eisner last year, and so well deserved. And it feels like he's only getting better. So it's always great to see artists who have been around for a long time get their due. I feel the same way with Nick Dragotta on Absolute Batman. I mean, I might not necessarily be resonating with the story that's being told, but the art continues to be amazing in Absolute Batman, and I'm so happy for Nick and his success. And he did an interview recently, and somebody asked him, now that you have such a high profile working on Absolute Batman, and it's like this runaway hit, and it's sort of changed the path of your career, what's the biggest difference? And he was completely candid. He said in one word, he's like, money. Like, I have money now. And it's great, like, because again, he's been doing it for a long, long time. And I would encourage anybody who's a fan of Absolute Batman, and specifically Nick's art, to go read East of West, the series he did with
Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah. And that's where it wasn't the first time I'd seen Nick's art, but that's where I really fell in love with his art. It's so great. So, but anyway, getting back to Absolute Wonder Woman, it continues to be just so good. I think it's my second favorite Absolute title after Superman. It's really that good. But I am very much looking forward to Absolute Green Arrow, because that sounds like it's going to be amazing as well. So anyway, what were your thoughts on this, Rocky?
This was a fantastic issue. Wasn't even close. Nothing came close to this week. Nothing. Not even remotely close. This was incredible. This is something. Kelly Thompson's managed to do something with Absolute Wonder Woman that every writer has failed to do with mainstream Wonder Woman, and that has actually made mythology interesting, in my view. That's a very obviously that's my opinion, but. This issue is what's so amazing about this issue is it starts off with Aphrodite making a confession to Circe, and basically telling her, and she's making a confession that it's a scene from the past. It takes place on the Wild Isle, and Aphrodite is basically saying, "I'm leaving." Well, why are you leaving? Well, because I'm getting too close to Diana. Well, why is that an issue? And she says something that has huge ramifications for Diana. She basically says that Diana has. All the goddesses gave Diana aspects of her powers, a portion of their power. And Aphrodite, one of the powers she gave Wonder Woman is that the power to get people to love her. And so it's a legitimate concern now. It's an open question, because it's always been one of the things that's frankly irritated me. I can't believe that everybody just likes Wonder Woman. Why? Because she's good looking? There's a lot of good looking women out there, and they're bitchs. Come on, give me a break. You just like her? Why? This makes sense. You have to. She's a goddess. She's imbued with love. You're compelled to love Diana. You're compelled to like her. And now it's an open question. Is Steve Trevor really in love with Diana? Are the people that are surrounded by her, do they really like her the way you think they do? Or is it just a godlike aura that she's emanating? And it makes you wonder. So Wonder Woman has these blessings, but they come at a cost. All these gifts of the gods come at a cost. Even the gift from Aphrodite of love. Do you love Wonder Woman, or how much of your affection for Wonder Woman is genuine versus an aspect of as a result of the Aphrodite's power of having people love her? It's interesting. And also the way that Wonder Woman uses the lasso Troika. Remember, there's 3 lassos: Troika, Nemesis, and Sacrifice. And the Troika lasso that she uses on Zatara, it basically is the breaker of secrets. And it's a weapon of last resort for Diana, because it's a monstrous lasso that forces out hidden truths and shatters the target psychologically. And it forces truth out of Zatara. And it forces Zatara to see the truth it snaps him psychologically, because Zatara at one choice had to make Sophie's choice. He had to choose his daughter's life over that of his wife's. And that's the secret. That's the big secret that's eating away at Zatara. He had to free himself of that secret. But unfortunately, the price that Wonder Woman pays is that, as the wielder of the Troika lasso, she's the one that pays the price for it by getting trapped inside it. And you mentioned the scene where Zatanna wants to rescue Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman is trapped essentially in that realm with the Troika. And in order to save her, Zatanna herself uses Circe's stone, a stone of Circe. That's literally on Wonder Woman's tiara. That stone is from Circe, and so Zatanna manages to access the realm of the lasso, and basically reach in and pull out Wonder Woman, just like she'd earlier pulled out Zatara. It was just so well done. And the whole idea here with Wonder Woman, the whole idea that every single weapon that Kelly Thompson, brilliant, well, she's done it so brilliantly. Every weapon that Wonder Woman has in her arsenal comes at a cost. All her weapons, everything she has, if she uses them, it comes at a cost. Look, the incident with Medusa. Everything Wonder Woman does, she's the one paying the price for it. When she does good, all the weapons that she has, she can use to help people, but she's the one that pays the price for it. Hey, she even gave up an arm for the person she loved. This is a woman who, in many ways, you can, in mythology, as in religion, there's always the sacrifice, the idea of the resurrection. Even the Avatar, even Christ himself died for our sins. You die for atonement. There's a mythological, religious element to Wonder Woman as that heroic figure. Wonder Woman's constantly on the hero's journey. And the obstacles that Wonder Woman has to overcome are the very weapons she uses to help people. That's what makes it so awesome. I have never, ever seen that in mainstream Wonder Woman, ever. I can't remember the last time. How many interesting Wonder Woman magic lasso stories do we get in the mainstream DC universe? We've gotten them. Some of them are pretty cool. The Golden Perfect is one that I remember, and there's a couple other ones by Mark Waid back in the GLA days. But in any event, I don't want to go, I could talk for a while on it, but let's just say that I am so impressed with what Kelly Thompson's doing. She's done something that I didn't think was possible. She's made mythology surrounding Wonder Woman actually interesting, because the mythology actually matters and is an integral part of Wonder Woman's hero's journey. And she's constantly a person that has to make the sacrifice in order to get the job done. And it's Wonder Woman who's paying the costs so that the people she helps don't have to. And that's been the theme from the beginning of this series. And Kelly Thompson has mastered it so well. And this issue just embodies that in so many ways. Great scenes with Veronica Cale, a setup for Barbara Minerva ultimately becoming Cheetah. and looking like we're going to have a battle between Zatara and this mechanical creature next issue as well. And if I and finally, I have to say, I'm so impressed with this issue. Zatanna herself, genuinely, she reminds me of Wonder Woman, but in many ways she's not hindered like Wonder Woman is, in that Zatanna herself seems to be a genuinely nice person, but she's free of the restraints that Wonder Woman seems to have because of Wonder Woman's unique relationship to her goddesses and both the curse and the blessings that Wonder Woman has. I wonder if Zatanna has some of those or if she has less of those. But it's a fascinating relationship between Zatanna and Wonder Woman. Finally, I just want to say that Kelly Thompson did a newsletter, her last newsletter. She talked about Wonder Woman's sexuality, and she talked about how Wonder Woman is... that Wonder Woman doesn't even think in terms of sexuality, that she just thinks in terms of love. If she loves a person, she loves a person. She would never think of putting a gender construct on that and what have you. And I can really see here that Wonder Woman, I can see her relationship with Zatanna becoming a very strong friendship. Potentially something more if you want to ship that or whatever. But I really like what Kelly Thompson is doing here. And when you... reading her newsletter regularly, and thanks to you, I thank you, Chase, again, because you got me onto her Substack, and of which I still a member. I really appreciate Kelly Thompson, the work that she puts into this. This is her passion. I think it shows. And then when you add Hayden Sherman's art, which is fantastic, again, the layouts are just incredible. This is easily, I ping pong all the time. I go Absolute Batman, Superman. Now Absolute Wonder Woman's on top of my list. the Absolute Trinity is just what a glorious DC Absolute position. Man, great. I love this comic.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, to me, there's no comparison between this and Absolute Batman. But one of the things I do want to mention, you talk about making a mythology interesting, which, that's a feat in and of itself. The thing that I want to mention is that so often when mythology comes into the mainstream DCU for Wonder Woman, it seems like the writer is trying to insert Wonder Woman into mythology, right? Like the classic Greek mythology, and it's so impenetrable and inscrutable to a lot of people. And yes, it can be interesting, and when you get to the heart of the stories and what have you, the fables or what the legends, the myths, it can be interesting, but a lot of people have a hard time understanding it because it's written in another language, and even translated it doesn't, because people just don't speak that way anymore, and so it's a little hard for people to understand. And so I get why people find it boring and don't want to have anything to do with it. And when you try to insert Wonder Woman into that, it's worked at various levels and been various levels of success. But what's interesting in what Kelly Thompson has done is she, in my mind, she hasn't done that. She hasn't tried to insert Wonder Woman into classic Greek mythology. Instead, she's taken classic parts of classic Greek mythology and she's inserted them into Wonder Woman. See the difference there? Like what matters most is Wonder Woman's story, not the mythology. So she's not beholden to it, as opposed to other times where it's been like, okay, this is Mount Olympus and these are all the gods, and it all has to be there, and Wonder Woman feels like at times a minor player and no different from mortals in terms of a plaything of the gods. She's at their mercy, and that's not the case here, because again, similar to what we talked about earlier with Absolute Flash, Wonder Woman maintains agency the whole time. She maintains her identity. And she's willing to pay those sacrificial prices, as Rocky was talking about, because she wants the power and the ability to help people. No more so an example than, like Rocky said, her giving up her arm to allow Steve Trevor to leave Hell. It's probably the best example. So, yeah, great book. Absolutely fantastic. Kelly Thompson, just killing it. So let's move on to that does it for the individual books that we're going to talk about this week. There are a ton of reprints this week, though, as DC is kind of want to do here with all these Absolute titles. Absolute Batman 7, 6th printing. Absolute Batman 8, 4th printing. Absolute Batman 9, 4th printing. Absolute Batman 10, 4th printing. Absolute Batman 11, 4th printing. Absolute Batman 12, 4th printing. DC All-In Special #1, fourth printing. We have a Detective Comics 577 facsimile. That's that 4-issue story from Mike W. Barr with Todd McFarlane art that has been being reprinted. So that's coming this week as well. And then Peril of the Brutal Dark did sell out its first issue. So there's a second printing, 2 different covers, second printing of Peril of the Brutal Dark issue #1. So if you missed that the first time, you can get that. Also, New History of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident, which also sold out a few weeks ago, is getting a second printing as well. They're reprinting the main cover, and then there's a new cover showing Static, rather, from Dan Mora that's out this week. So ton of reprints. If you missed any issues of Absolute Batman, this might be the week you can go and pick up that issue that you're missing. So in terms of collected editions this week, Animal Man by Tom Vetch and Steve Dillon is getting an omnibus. This is after Grant Morrison left the Vertigo and Animal Man title. So this is collecting issues 27 through 50, as well as some other tie-ins. It's 688 pages for $100. We have Batman Gotham by Gaslight: A League for Justice. This is collecting the first. This is a hardcover. It's collecting the first 6 issues of the recent Batman Gotham by Gaslight: A League for Justice hardcover. 216 pages for $30. We have DC's Finest Batman: A Death in the Family. This is obviously collecting the Death in the Family storyline when people voted, including Rocky himself, called the number, got Jason Todd killed.
You're welcome.
So 640 pages, $40. That is a soft cover. Robin the Bronze Age omnibus hardcover. This is obviously reprinting a ton of stories that are Robin focused from Batman and DC Comics and Batman Family, World's Finest, all that sort of stuff. 912 pages, $125. It is a hardcover. I mean, it's an omnibus, so that makes sense. And then JLA Salvation Run, reprinting that 7-issue miniseries that was tied into Countdown Final Crisis. Collects the whole thing, 192 pages, $20. And then finally, Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum is getting a hardcover. This is the recent W. Maxwell Prince story with Martin Morazzo on art, all 5 issues, which started out, I was a pretty big fan of it, and it kind of went off the rails and got too weird for my taste. But if that's your jam, if you're a big fan of Ice Cream Man from that same creative team over at Image, you may want to check that out. All right. In terms of our rankings, I think it's my turn to go first. As I mentioned before, really just couldn't get behind Harley and Ivy Life and Crimes #5, so that comes in at number 10 for me. But everything else, even despite the rankings, I really enjoyed, which I had Justice League Unlimited, number 18, came in at number 9 for me. At number 8, Harley Quinn 61. At number 7, Green Lantern 34. At number 6, just missing out on my top 5, I had Absolute Wonder Woman number 19. I thought I had that higher, actually. Interesting. Peril of the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane Mystery, I had at number 3. Number 5. Number 4, Absolute Flash 14. At number 3, Detective Comics number 1108. At number 2, Flash number 32. And number 1 for me this week, Superman 37.
Nice. Good choice. Well, for me, my coming in at number 10, Justice League Unlimited 18. Number 9, Harley and Ivy Life and Crimes number 5. Coming in number 8, Flash 32. Number 7, Harley Quinn 61. Coming in number 6, Peril of the Brutal Dark and Ezra Kane Mystery number 3. Coming in at number 5, Absolute Flash 14. Number 4, Green Lantern 34. Coming in at number 3 was Superman 37. Coming in at number 2 was Detective Comics 1108. And coming in at number 1, and it wasn't even a contest for me, was Absolute Wonder Woman number 19. It was just, I think it was absolutely incredible. And it was very impressive. I'm just one of my favorite issues of Wonder Woman so far. Keeps getting better.
So we got everything within 1 or 2 ranks of each other except for Absolute Wonder Woman. I have it at 6. You have it at 1. And then Flash. Flash is our biggest discrepancy. I had it at 2. Really enjoyed it, and you had it at 8.
Yeah.
Interesting. I always love comparing. One of the other things, I want to give a shout out to DC Editorial. There are times in the past where Rocky and I we open up the portal and there's like 18 books we need to read and talk about. Makes for super long episodes, and it's tiring to record for that long. And it's part of the reason we went to this format where we try not to spend too much time on the books that aren't in our top five. I know we fail miserably at that. But man, it's been like, and I'm probably jinxing it here. It's been like, feels like 6 weeks or so where every week there's 10 books.
Yeah.
It's such a great spot to be in with 10 books.
That's right.
Next week is 10 books. I think the following week they're not all there yet because it's May.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's like, I really hope that, and I know we're going to be adding more titles with Next Level and what have you, but maybe 12, you start getting over that and it's hard to even remember. And then there have been times in the past where like, man, this really deserves to be in the top 5, but hey, it's not great. And then vice versa too. Like sometimes when there's only like 5 or 6 titles and it's like, well, everything's sort of in the top 5 by default. It might not necessarily be earned. But yeah, just shout out to DC Editorial. I don't know if they're purposely doing it, but I think it's such a sweet spot, as opposed to Marvel, which is really struggling right now in the sales department. I mentioned that right at the top. How DC beat it in market share for the quarter again, second quarter in a row. It did so, but God, they're putting out so many books, and nobody's talking about any of them because they're just not any good. The only Marvel books I'm reading are Infernal Hulk and Iron Man. And I did read Stephanie Phillips' first issue of Daredevil, which I really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to the second issue of that. But that's it, man.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying. I got the first 4 issues of Iron Man and Joshua Williamson, and I'm not an Iron Man expert by any stretch, and I know it has some detractors saying this story's been done before and what have you, but it's. I don't know, like it feels like a fresh new story to me because I'm just not as familiar with that background of Tony, all the different iterations and stuff. So I'm really enjoying it. I thought, Madam Mask and, Tony Stark doing, maybe a little bit more like the Tony Stark, the MCU, which I kind of like, to be honest. So I'm enjoying it. So good job, Joshua Williamson. I should probably give him a shout out because he's doing such a good job on Superboy Prime, but I like his Iron Man too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and yeah, it does feel a little. I get where people are coming from. It does feel a little bit derivative, but at the same time, I'm like, but that's classic Iron Man. It's almost like classic Iron Man stories, but like you said, with the Robert Downey Jr. version of Tony Stark, which I don't particularly enjoy most of the time, but again, it is a way to inject it and make it kind of some new energy into it and what have you. So yeah, I'm enjoying it too. I would be the first to say if I wasn't, but I mean. Joshua Williamson's such a huge Iron Man fan, so it kind of makes sense. It's not, in a way, it's not dissimilar from what Jeremy Adams is bringing to Green Lantern, where he's going back and mining some of the classic eras.
It's a good example. It's fun. Yeah. Like I get a sense when I read it. There's nothing more rewarding as a reader that when you can almost pick up the sense of fun that the writer has. Yeah. That's always, and it's something that it's hard to describe. You get a sense of it, and yeah, and I feel so sorry for Marvel fans because Marvel fans as a whole are a little bit. I know they're feeling a little bit down. I've been there as a DC fan, so I know how that feels. So I say, comic books are cyclical, guys. Just wait. Sometimes you got to wait a year or two, but it'll pick up.
Yeah, and I should also mention, I am getting Amazing Spider-Man as well, but that's just to keep my run going. I haven't enjoyed it for quite a while. And this Death Spiral crossover that's going on right now, I have been, reading the whole crossover. So I got the Death Spiral special and the Venom issues and whatever. But you want to talk about not feeling new or fresh. Like this, here we go, another symbiote that's murdering people. It feels like so. This is just Maximum Carnage recycled. It's exactly what it feels like to me. So. Anyway, enough Marvel talk. Don't forget, everybody, head over to the Comic Source YouTube channel if you want to check out the other reviews for indie stuff. I have a Fireborn review up there, which is catching some heat. It's already sold out. The first issue, it's fantastic. The Hab from Bad Idea also sold out the first issue. That was probably my favorite comic that I read.
It's really good. Yeah, I read that the other day. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it even more so than Superman. As much as I love Superboy Prime, the Hab just absolutely blew me away. Yeah. And it's interesting. I talked to Josh Dysart, the writer of it, after I had posted my review, And he checked out the review and he's like, you nailed it. You totally got what my intention was. So that's always nice as a reviewer to kind of pick up on what the writer, their intentions are, because everybody brings their own life experiences and you don't always see it the same way. But so if you're curious about the Hab and what Josh Dysart's actual intentions are, go and check that out, because it is so interesting. And I think my favorite line that I had in my review was when I was talking about how these people are trying to sort of escape the sins of humanity, because humanity is sort of ruined in the story, sort of ruined the earth, and these people retreat to this technologically marvelous habitat where they're going to survive the end of the world, basically. But they haven't escaped the sins of humanity. All they've done is distill them down, and now they're experiencing kind of a karmic justice in this place where they were supposed to go and survive. So yeah, it's a fantastic story. So again, you can go and check that out. Spawn Daily's back. I've been posting those, and then luckily I have a little bit of a backlog of those to kind of repost and retitling them and everything, and repackaging them. But yeah, we'll be getting to some new ones here in a couple months. So appreciate everybody joining as always. If you're listening audio only, because all the Comic Source content is available on whatever podcasting platform or app you choose to listen audio only. You can come and check out our smiling faces and the gorgeous art every week on the DC Spotlight on Rocky's channel on YouTube. Comic Space Boom ! Once you're there, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Same as on the Comic Source channel on YouTube. So we appreciate the support as always, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Catch you later.